Bloomberg Audio Studios. Podcasts, radio, news.
Welcome to Merryn Talks Your Money, the personal finance edition of Merryn Talks Money. In these bonus podcasts, we talk about the best strategies for making the most of your money. I'm Merryn Somerset Webb, editor-at-large for Bloomberg UK Wealth.
And I'm John Stepek, senior reporter and author of the Money Distilled newsletter.
Award-winning.
Award-winning.
Yeah,
yes.
Never miss out those. Never miss out those words. Listen, question for you, John. How much is your life insured for?
Oh, I couldn't possibly say. I mean, it's you know, how much is the Mona Lisa insured for? Might as well ask.
I don't know. I mean, this is an interesting one because I've been looking at this recently. Should my life be insured and how much should it be insured for? Because I don't think I have life insurance. What do I need to leave behind me? I didn't actually want you to answer that, John. It was more of a rhetorical question than a John, please tell me what I'm worth question. It wasn't that kind of question. But anyway, it's on my mind. So today we are going to talk about all types of insurances. The insurances you have to have, the insurances that you should have, and the ones that are fairly flexible. Now, in order to discuss this and get it right, and the man who's going to tell me what I'm worth, we have on with us today Kevin Ryan. Kevin is an analyst with Bloomberg Intelligence and an expert in consumer insurance. Kevin, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
What do you think I'm worth?
Oh, at least 5 times salary if you're a corporate employee.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of corporates will just give you this. It'll be in your contract that you get 4 or 5 times your salary. Yeah.
Exactly.
Personally, I think I'm worth rather more than that, but maybe we won't get into that.
Of course.
And what we want to do today is to talk about all the different types of insurance, what you must have, what you should have, and what might be nice to have. And as far as I know, the only one that is a legal requirement is car insurance, right?
Yes, that's right. You've got to have at least third-party insurance if you own or drive a car.
And tell us the difference between third party and fully comprehensive. I'm guessing most people know, but just in case.
Third party is just, it covers you if you run into somebody or run into somebody's garden wall. They get paid out. But fully comprehensive covers you for absolutely everything. So if you have an accident and drive into your own brick wall, you can claim on your insurance and get your car repaired.
Okay, so with third party, you drive into another car, your insurance covers all their costs, their medical bills, etc.,
Correct.
but absolutely none of yours. You are on your own.
That's right.
But it's very significantly cheaper, presumably.
Yes. Although I have to say a lot of insurers now don't offer it at all.
Oh, really?
So, yeah.
Yeah, and do you know what I found out the other day that not everybody offers anymore? And back in the old days with car insurance, if you had your own car insurance, you were usually automatically third-party covered on other people's cars. So you could just jump into someone else's car, and not stealing it, obviously, but with their permission, and drive off in it and be covered third-party. But that doesn't seem to be the case anymore.
It certainly is with some policies. I have one like that.
Oh, do you?
But I think as car insurance has got more competitive price-wise, with the rise of comparison websites, I think some insurers are pulling back from some of these, what they regard as extras.
Okay. So when we're getting car insurance, which we have to have, what should we be looking for?
I think you need to be looking for things you want and things that insurers will give you a discount if you don't have, like windscreen cover. Windscreens now, particularly in modern cars, are very expensive to replace because they've got radio aerials and all sorts of sensors in them. So definitely tick the box to have windscreen cover. And the other thing I would tick the box for is having a courtesy car when yours is off the road, because of supply chain logistics and so on, very often even a simple repair like a smashed bumper, the most common knock, can take several weeks.
Okay, so you need a car. And what about getting insurance for young people? How's the best way to go about that? That's a big topic of conversation among me and my friends at the moment.
Yes, I didn't find that a problem when I had that challenge. And one particular insurer was very keen on having young people, and it was expensive, but not ruinously so. So I think the answer is to all of these things is to shop around, and the comparison sites are the place to do that.
Okay. And can you tell us from your area of expertise why it is that car insurance has got so much more expensive so quickly? Is that to do with EVs being more likely to be written off or harder to repair? Is it to do with the supply chain logistics you've just mentioned? Or is it, as we sometimes read in the newspapers, that those who do have insurance are paying a lot for the illegal drivers on the road?
Well, I think that's a misnomer, Merryn. I must pull you up on that, I'm afraid.
Absolutely.
If you look at the last Confused.com quarterly motor price index, their average cost is £726 for the fourth quarter of last year, and that's down 13% year over year. So what is curious is that prices are going down. They peaked at £995.
When was that, though? I mean, isn't
third
it the case
quarter of 2023.
So that was the bit when they went up very dramatically. Post-COVID, they went up from a much lower level than I think you're suggesting they're falling to now. So prices may be down over a year or so, but they're still fairly comprehensively up on pre-COVID levels and higher than inflation.
Well, the second quarter 2023 peak only overtook the fourth quarter 2017 by a few pounds. So my view is that we've had a good deal from motor insurers and that in real terms, the price has been pretty flat. And I think the reason we had a blip up in 23 was that the regulator introduced the general insurance pricing practices rule in 1st of January 2022. And that basically meant they couldn't price walk. And so lots of portfolios of motor insurance were repriced and settled down. So they spiked and then they're back to normal. Everybody's where they should be again and prices are coming off.
Okay, great. So everything's absolutely fine. Your motor insurance is pretty much as it was. It's relatively easy to get. You can get third-party and comprehensive cover pretty easily, and you can get the additional driver thing we were talking about earlier.
You can.
Okay, great. I feel a lot better. Right. So there's nothing else that's legally required, but the next insurance that you kind of have to have, legal requirement or not, is building insurance, right?
If you own a property, yes, it would be silly not to unless you're very wealthy and you want to stump up the rebuilding cost if something awful happens.
Okay, but the mistake that people make there is insuring their house for the value of their house rather than for the cost of rebuilding their house. Because if your house burns down, it doesn't matter what it was worth. What matters is how much it's going to cost you to find someone to put it up again.
Correct.
Okay. And if you over-insure your house, you're not going to get paid out that. You're just going to get paid what it costs to rebuild.
You'll get paid the rebuilding cost. Insurance is a contract of indemnity. So the deal is you buy buildings insurance, the thing burns down or blows down, and the insurer will come along and reinstate it.
Yeah. And there was a period, certainly in Edinburgh, I don't know about in other places, where particularly with older houses, when house prices were very low over the last decade or so, where people were underinsuring their houses for building insurance because it turned out that it would cost more to rebuild a Georgian townhouse than it would to buy one.
I think you've got to be careful with underinsurance because the underwriter can turn around and say, you've misrepresented the risk to us and therefore you have no cover at all. So it's a fine line to tread, and I think one needs to exercise caution.
What is the best way to figure out what the rebuild cost of your house is? Because I think I went on the Rick's website, I think a while ago, and I've got a pretty normal house. It was just built, like in the 90s, and it's on an estate and things. There's nothing unusual about it, so I think you can be pretty confident in what they suggested. But if you've got something a bit quirkier, should you actually ask someone for a specific valuation, or can you just not guess, but what's a good guideline for a sensible buildings insurance valuation?
I think there are a number of, as you mentioned, online calculators, and I think ultimately, if in doubt, if you've got a grand house and it's Georgian and it's listed and all the rest of it, I would go onto your insurer and say, what would you recommend? And put the ball very much in their court, and they will help you because they don't want you to be underinsured.
Yeah, feels like the kind of time you should have an insurance broker, right?
Yeah.
Rather than just buying online if you have a difficult house.
If you've got a difficult house and it doesn't fit the standard big insurers' things, then I think you need to go to a large broker that specialises in these sorts of things, and they will sort it for you.
Okay. Now, the other insurance that almost everybody which is not compulsory, but I'm sure pretty advisable, is contents insurance, right? Because if your house burns down, the contents are going to be pretty valuable too. And this is the area where a lot of people underinsure and then find that they're in a whole pile of trouble when something does happen. Is that right?
I think it is. And I think the other thing insurers need to see is receipts for a lot of those things that people will say they've lost, because they need evidence that you had a 58 carat ring that somehow melted or whatever.
But how can you have a receipt for things you inherited from your granny?
It's really difficult. And I think what you need to do there is take a photograph of it, prove that you've got it, it's in the house, it's on your hand or something like that, and have a jeweller value it. And have a copy of that receipt somewhere safe, what the jeweller's valuation was, and proving that you actually owned it because it was in your possession via a photograph.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose the other thing is that in extremis, I mean, I think that would work for a burglary, but if your house is burnt down, well, that's going too. I mean, should people really have an inventory of everything valuable in their house held off-site?
I think they should. I mean, if you've got a high value portfolio of bits and pieces, then I think you need to do that. And I think if you have got a high value portfolio of chattels and bits and pieces, the insurer will insist on that.
Okay, so it is entirely possible that you could lose everything and get almost nothing back if you haven't done this slightly horrendous sounding amount of admin.
Not quite, but I think where they get sniffy is, the old rings and the watches and
the paintings.
Some of the paintings, yeah. And that you need to pay attention to. But other things like your television, your dishwasher, you'll get new for old. So in this instance, it's the only insurance that isn't a contract of indemnity because you get new for old.
Yeah.
Because they can't go out and find a 2-year-old Zanussi washing machine or whatever it is you've just lost.
Well, there you go. Silver linings. John, is all your vastly valuable collection of inherited jewellery properly photographed, receipted, valued, and with those papers stored off-site? I know you're efficient and good when it comes to admin.
Actually, believe it or not, I do. My wife did lose, her one expensive handbag was stolen many years ago. And that was something we actually did have a receipt for because it was one of the kind of few things that I guess I'd sort of turned around to the insurer and said, because they ask you if something's worth over a certain amount, and so it was maybe like one or two things. I can see it would be a pain if you had a lot more stuff, and I can't say that everything in the house is completely itemised. But to be fair, I do take Kevin's point. I mean, if I had an expensive painting on the wall, I probably would, have some proof of ownership of that. So, yeah, I mean, I can see that makes sense, actually. I mean, I can also see it's a total pain in the neck, so I'm glad that I don't actually own anything particularly valuable. So.
It's a shame, isn't it? I mean, Kevin, you don't know this, but one of the things that we try and do on this podcast is save people from admin. And now look what we've done.
Well, I guess the thing with the admin is you don't want the admin to arrive at the point where you need it. It's like one of these things where you want to have the inventory there so that it's not a total nightmare if the worst does happen. And I guess that's the other point about insurance, and it is mostly there for you're trying to insure yourself against catastrophes rather than minor inconveniences, really.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. All right, so what's up next? So we've already spent a pile on motor insurance. We've spent a pile on building insurance. We've probably spent rather too much on contents insurance after this conversation. What's the next insurance on our list, Kevin?
Well, I imagine if you've got a favourite dog, a poodle or a cat.
I do have a favourite dog. And when he was run over by a car, we did not have insurance. If you ever come to Scotland, I will introduce you to the most expensive border terrier in the world.
So I would recommend people have pet insurance because...
Me too.
You know, if a dog does run into the road and needs surgery on a leg, that's the same as you going into a private hospital and having the same. So it's several £1,000s. Mm-hmm. So a dog's leg is about £3,000. It's the same as a human leg. Yeah. And the other thing that you will find if a dog has an accident or a cat and has an operation, they will mandatorily keep it in overnight. And I have to tell you, having been through this process myself once, that it's more expensive than most hotels I stay in on holiday. Insurance is a good thing here. It's not that expensive if you shop around.
Mm. Well, all I would say is that I would be absolutely thrilled if my dog had only broken one leg and only stayed in hospital for one night. In fact, he broke, would everyone like to know, he broke 2 hips, leg in one place, 6 ribs, and had a hernia, and he was in for nearly 2 weeks. Enjoy doing the sums on that one. And as I say, most expensive border terrier in the entire world. He's available for viewing. Tenner a go.
The $6 million dog coming to a screen near you.
Exactly. Let's pick that one up, though, because you could self-insure with this. You could say, well, my pet insurance is 60 quid a month or whatever, and I'm just going to put that into a high interest bank account and I'm going to leave it until something happens. But I think from what I know, and it sounds like you know as well, Kevin, sorry about that, is that that's probably never going to be enough.
I don't think it is, because one of the things that's interesting about the veterinary world in the UK is that prices go up a bit more than CPI.
Is there a size of pet where you would suggest, or not a size, like for example, I mean, like we've owned things like budgies and hamsters, and I mean, those, I must admit, we didn't get insurance for. I won't tell you about the time I got a hysterectomy done on a hamster. I will just park that one for future humiliation, but I'm just saying, so I can see the argument for dogs, definitely, and obviously horses. I mean, that's like insuring a car, but with a cat seems slightly borderline to me, although I suppose, again, that depends on how affectionately you feel for your cat.
I don't know, John. I would say cats, yes, but hamsters, we have a friend who's a vet, and you know what she says about hamsters?
I can't imagine.
She says 20 quid for a new one.
That's the compassion I like to hear from our medical professionals.
Anyway, moving on. Given how expensive it is just to keep a dog in hospital overnight, and by the way, I get it. There's the oxygen masks and the intensive care nurses and the special room and all that. It's expensive. But if we're going to take out insurance for our border terriers for this, clearly, I think you would suggest, Kevin, that we should have our own medical insurance as well.
I think that's sensible. And companies like AXA and Aviva have been reporting that take-up of their private medical care offering has been booming in recent years.
Yeah, well, it would be, what with the state of the NHS and all that. But the only problem there is that everyone's going private. Eventually, you end up with the same queues for going private, right?
I don't know. I try and live a healthy life, so I don't know.
Anyway, and it's also very expensive. I mean, you're talking for someone in their 40s or 50s, you're talking maybe £2,000 or £3,000 a year for private medical insurance. So is there a case there for self-insuring, for saying, okay, do you know what? I'm just going to put that money into a bank account. And if I do need a hip replacement for £5,000 or whatever it is, the money will be there and I haven't wasted it on insurance.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think where it does come into play is if you had some, really bad disease, a cancer or something, that's going to cost considerably more and need urgent treatment, more to the point, then I think that's where private health insurance can come into its own. But yes, if you've got the discipline, and this is the thing, I think, the discipline to put a couple of £100 into the high interest account to pay for your hip or broken leg or whatever it happens to be that you think might occur, then go for it.
So technically speaking, I guess the NHS is there as your catastrophe insurance. So if something like an A&E type thing happens, then you're kind of covered. And the flip side of that is the sort of things you would self-insure for. I don't know, I can see that self-insurance is a little bit more feasible here than it is in the pet case, because if you do it for long enough and you start early enough, then you probably could conceivably save up enough for a hip operation or something like that.
And also, you have a backstop, which pets don't.
Yeah, exactly.
Although I would say, can you really rely on NHS A&E anymore? I mean, I know where I live in Scotland, we do not have private A&Es, but certainly in the south there are private A&Es now, aren't there, where you can go and be seen, in under 14 hours.
I mean, I think it's a tricky one, and I can see why demand's going up. You open bank accounts now, and they'll do those GP out of hours services that you can just phone up and basically get a Zoom appointment with a GP. And that kind of thing I can see is really useful, because getting a GP appointment, even for just a kind of reassuring pat in the head that there's nothing wrong with me, that's very hard these days. Once upon a time I'd have said you probably don't need medical insurance, and now I'm much more divided about it, I have to say.
Yeah, I mean, if you break your leg, you want to be able to see a doctor before it resets itself in the wrong way, don't you?
Preferably.
Okay, moving on. So medical insurance, if you can, there is some possibility to self-insure there. What next? We talked about the value of my life, which was nice, right? But life insurance, a lot of people will get it with work. Everyone should check their contract, right?
They should, yeah.
And if you don't have it through work,
I think you need to assess why you need it. I think if you're in a couple and you've got a mortgage, then a bit of life insurance to cover that outstanding mortgage, should one of you keel over, is a good idea. And it's not hugely expensive for most people with most mortgages.
So if you're reasonably young and you're in a relationship and you have a mortgage, in fact, even if you're not in a relationship and you have a mortgage, quite nice to leave behind you a paid off house for somebody, wouldn't it?
Well, yes, if you've made other provision.
But less urgent. Okay, so life insurance, yes. And now here's another that a lot of people have, but may or may not be necessary, which is critical illness insurance. What about that?
I think something like that could be really useful for the self-employed. So if you're self-employed and you suddenly can't do whatever you normally do, whether it's plumbing or a voiceover or whatever, because you've got a broken leg or actually you've been diagnosed with something awful, then I think that's well worth considering, but it's not cheap.
It's not cheap. What does it cost?
Well, I haven't got any exact figures, but historically when I've looked at it, I've always personally shied away from it, thinking, well, I just hope I go quickly. And the life insurance kicks in.
Well, I mean, that can be arranged, Kevin, increasingly easily these days. Okay.
I mean, that is a tricky one, though. You're right, because it is. Again, yeah, I know what you mean. Anytime I've kind of thought about it, it's one of those when you look at it and you think, actually, that would be a nice to have, but at the same time, it's just way too expensive for covering that particular issue. And I suppose the other thing is some employers do actually offer it as well. I think it's a rarer one because, well, it's expensive for them too, but certainly a few places I've worked with, usually with younger overall workforces, they seem to get it cheaper, and so they're happier to include it as a perk.
Yeah. Does it also sometimes come with life insurance as sort of an optional extra? If you buy life insurance, Kevin, will it come with critical illness option?
It might do. In some life covers, there'll be a clause that says if you're diagnosed with an end of life, an imminent end of life event, they'll pay you out so that you can organise your affairs.
Yeah. So they'll pay. So that's not
pay what.
Yeah. Sorry, so it's not critical illness insurance. Yeah.
But it kicks in if you go to the doctor and they say, "I'm very sorry, you need to prepare yourself. You've got just a couple of months," or whatever it is.
Oh.
They should then, if you've got that clause in your life policy, pay out the life policy ahead of time.
Okay, what happens then? What happens if you're diagnosed with a terminal cancer and told you have under a year, for example, and your insurance pays out, you pay for your mortgage, all good, and then you go on one of those trials and have a miracle cure?
Well, I think you owe the insurance company. That's the problem.
Every silver lining has a cloud.
I know. I would have thought the insurance company would just go, well, good for you, on you go, but maybe not. Right. John, Kevin, what else?
I think the big one now is, and particularly post-COVID, is travel insurance.
Oh, yes.
Now, that, depending on how much you pay and all the rest of it, that can be useful.
I mean, surely, I would say travel insurance was compulsory. I'd never go away without it. Would anyone go away without travel insurance? And would you go to America without travel insurance? That would be insane.
Well, I suspect lots of people do, particularly in Europe. But yeah,
well, you can get an ECHR. Is that what it's called? ECHR in Europe, Kevin? Yeah, which kind of covers you for medical expenses, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or the EHIC, I think it is.
EHIC, sorry.
Yeah. Or GHIC now, I think, since Brexit.
ECHR. I think I'm getting
I think you're getting mixed up with another troublemaking document.
Absolutely, troublemaking all over the place. Sorry, everybody. Apologies. Oh yeah, I've just got off a long haul flight. John, you never go anywhere without travel insurance, do you?
Actually, to be fair, I don't. I've always had it drummed into me from a young age about getting repatriated off a mountainside, even though I'm never on a mountainside. So yeah, but yeah, I can see actually how people might be a bit cavalier about it going to Europe. I think anywhere outside of Europe, for definite, you should have travel insurance, and it is cheap. Yeah. It's not an expensive thing.
And you can get annual multi-trip insurance, can't you?
Exactly.
Yeah. And I found out the other day, by the way, when I was going abroad for a few days to work and didn't have insurance, I thought I should have a separate business travel insurance, but it turns out not so. Most travel insurance travels you for leisure and for short business trips. Is that right, Kevin, or was I just lucky?
No, I think that's probably right. The other thing to look at is if you've got a homeowner's policy, is to look at that, because quite often your insurer will extend that into travel.
And your credit card as well, right? I mean, certainly a lot of American Express cards, assuming you pay for the trip with your American Express card, will cover you while you're away. I assume that's true of lots of credit cards.
Yeah, and it's definitely a perk to look out for.
Yeah.
Because if you do get stranded, they will pay for the hotel, the new flight, etc.
Okay, well, that's that last one. Anything else? Or are we actually there now? This has been a very, very expensive podcast.
Well, I think that the thing you can reassure listeners with is that the main things like motor and homeowners, the price is actually going down. So,
great.
Buildings only cover, according to Consumer Intelligence, fell 2.2% in the fourth quarter.
Why do we think that is when the costs of construction are going up so much? I mean, we hear of nothing but the cost of construction rising and rising and how impossible it is to build anything because the bill costs are so high, etc. Why would the cost of insuring be falling? Is it maybe because there are fewer fires than there used to be? Fewer buildings fall down, fewer bits fall off buildings onto other people's heads? I mean, is it simply about that?
No, I think it's about insurers with lots of capital and there's plenty of competition. So the competition in the UK market remains intense for these main big ticket items or big premium pools like motor, like homeowners.
Brilliant. John?
Yeah, I mean, the other thing I would say is that it's consistently, certainly in my experience, it's consistently been worth shopping around when you get your renewal. I mean, just this year, I managed to save £150 off my buildings insurance, and it wasn't that high in the first place. The quote came in for, I think it was £300, then it came in at £400, and so I just went to a comparison site, put it in, and I got it back for £250. And I mean, it's the same on car insurance and all. There's very rarely, during COVID was the one time I did notice that it was pointless to shop around or do the comparison site thing when your renewal came in, because it was literally a matter of like a tenner or something like that, and it was a waste of time. But other than that, I must admit, most years I consistently find that you can save a reasonable amount of money And it doesn't take that long, much as I famously hate admin. So yeah, definitely. I think shopping around makes a lot of sense.
Well, there you go. Who needs Martin Lewis when you've got John Stepek? Right.
No
Brilliant.
comment.
Thank you both so much. That was super useful. And off you go, everyone, to do your admin. Photographs of all your jewellery, off to the valuers, etc. I don't know if I'm going to be doing that. Maybe I just don't have enough value to make it worth it. I said put it on my long-term list to do one day in the distant future. Thanks for listening to this week's Merryn Talks Your Money. If you like our show, rate, review and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. Also, be sure to follow me and John on X or Twitter at MerrynSW and John_Stepek. This episode was produced by Summer Sadi and Moses. And questions and comments on this show and ideas for new shows and on all our shows are always welcome. Our show email is merrynmoney@bloomberg.net.